Hello everybody, it's Sarah, and since we are about 1.5-ish weeks away, I don't know, actually we might be closer to the end of the year depending on when I'll upload this video, but as of the filming of this video, it's right now the 20th of December, so we're like 1.5-ish weeks away from the end of the year. So it's time to sit down and to talk about my anticipated releases for 2024, and I have my handy dandy list on the spreadsheet. Like I always do a reading spreadsheet for each year, and on the list, like on that spreadsheet, I also put all my anticipated releases so I can keep up with them. And yeah, I originally wanted to do 2 videos because I already have almost 50 anticipated releases for the first half of 2024, and that's what we'll go through right now, through my anticipated releases for the first half. But I have too many other videos I still have to upload this year, so I guess we'll just go through them. And yeah, let's get into it. As always, I will usually not know a lot about each of these books. I might know the genre, I might know if they're adult or YA, but yeah, basically we'll go through the books. I'll tell you what made me want to pick them up, and let's get into it. So I do not have anything for the first 2 weeks of 2024. The first release that I have right here is on the 18th of January. I actually have 2 books on the 18th of January. The first of which is Feybound by Sara El-Arifi. Sara El-Arifi is also the author of, I believe it's called the Ending Fire series, where the first book was The Final Strife, the second book, The Battle Drum, came out this year. I'm actually currently reading it. I don't know what exactly Feybound is about, but I enjoyed The Final Strife enough, and I'm now currently enjoying The Battle Drum enough to put this on my anticipated releases. I believe this might be either a standalone or a first book in a duology. Then next we have Voyage of the Damned by Frances White, which also comes out on the 18th. This is a standalone fantasy, and it's kind of a murder cruise fantasy type thing where I think you have 12 heirs to different countries on the ship, and then one of them is murdered and they have to find out who the murderer is, and also everyone is gay. That's that's about what I know about it. So yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. It sounds really fun, it sounds really interesting, and it's also, I believe, the Illumicrate book for January, so you know, I'm gonna get that probably. Next book that I have is To Cage a God by Elizabeth May, which comes out on the 23rd of January, and it's probably, I think, gonna be the Illumicrate book for February. I do actually have an arc of this, so I do want to read it. I also believe it's YA. Mostly I have this on my anticipated reads list because To Cage a God just sounds like a really, really epic title, and I want to know the story behind it. Then next, a few of the books that I have on here, by the way, are on here because I got arcs of them from NetGalley. The next one I have is The Last Immortal by Natalie Gibson, which also comes out on the 23rd of January. And I am actually currently reading this, and I only just started the first chapter. And in the first chapter right now, the main character was put into an insane asylum in like the 1800s or something. So yeah, good start. No clue what it is about aside from that. Next, I think, is another historical fantasy that I have, and I think this one I also put on here because I have an arc of it, and that is The City of Stardust by Georgia Summers, which comes out on the 30th of January. Aside from that, I do not know what it is about. No clue. Then I have a book, a self-pub book that I'm quite excited about, and that's Just Stab Me Now by Jill Berup, which comes out on the 5th of February. Jill Berup is a YouTuber, or originally I learned of her as a YouTuber who does a lot of, you know, cinematic fighting type videos and analyzing fight scenes in movies. And she started this kind of shorts series of a conversation between an author and a fantasy heroine, or the fantasy heroine that the author wrote. And these shorts have now somewhat been turned into a book, and it's gonna come out in February, and it sounds really interesting, also like kind of concept-wise, so I'm actually really excited to get into this. Next, I have Tales of the Celestial Kingdom by Su Lin Tan, which comes out on the 6th of February. This one is kind of a short story collection that has to do with the... I think it's called the Celestial Kingdom duology as well. I don't know what the name is of the duology right now. The first one was Daughter of the Moon Goddess. And since I love that duology, I am so excited for the short stories. And I hope I'm gonna have a better track record with these than I usually do with short story collections connecting to series. Then I have The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, which also comes out on the 6th of February. This one, I mean, I know Robert Jackson Bennett is like quite a well-known name within the fantasy science fiction community. I have not read anything by him yet, but this one for some reason sounded really interesting to me. Do I remember what it was about? No clue, obviously. Like, who would I be if I had any idea what the books are about that I'm gonna wanna be reading? Then we have The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden, which comes out on the 13th of February. This one I am just so excited for because I loved the Winter Night trilogy, and this is her first book since the last book was published. I believe this one is historical fantasy as well, and I think it's set possibly in England this time around. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it's about. I just know that I think it's set not as much in the past as the Winter Night trilogy, and that it's historical fantasy. Then we have An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson, which also comes out on the 13th. Actually, I have like a bunch of books that come out on the 13th. This one, I'm like, there's 2 S.T. Gibson books on my anticipated reading list for this year. One of the 2 is a Camilla retelling. I don't know if An Education in Malice was the one. Then I have Projections by S.E. Porter, which also comes out on the 13th. I believe this one is on here because I have a, what's it called? An arc for it as well. And it sounded really interesting. That one I'm gonna look up for a second. So I actually don't have an arc of it, and I can't find it on Goodreads right now. I believe I might have picked this one up on Twitter or something. Anyway, next I have A Flame in the North by Lilith St. Crow, which comes out also on the 13th. I do not remember why I put this one on here. I remember nothing of it. I think it might be Norse inspired or something. Who knows? Then I have Neferura by Malina Evans, which also comes out on the 13th. This one I do actually have an arc for, which is why it's on here. And this one is, I think, historical fantasy or historical fiction set in ancient Egypt, which I do not read a lot of, or I have not seen a lot of generally, so that's why I'm really excited for this one. Then I have Sunbringer by Hannah Kana, which comes out on the 15th of February. This is the second book to Godkiller by Hannah Kana, which I actually really enjoyed last year, so I'm excited to see where the series is gonna go. I hope this one is gonna be actually longer a little bit than the first one was. The first one was a little bit too short for me, but nevertheless I'm excited for it. By the way, in general, I just like a lot of last books in series that I've been following were published in 2023 and 2022. So this year I don't actually have that many sequels or books by authors that I tend to follow and that are like auto-buy authors. And that's why I can tell you even less about what these books are about than usually. Then, next one, we have The Ashfire King by Chelsea Abdullah, which comes out on the 20th of February. Finally, it was supposed to come out in 2023. It's the sequel to The Stardust Thief, which I have over here, like just out of frame, and which I really enjoyed. It's kind of like Middle Eastern inspired high fantasy, and yeah, we'll see if I'll have to reread book 1 before I get into book 2. Then I have Where the Dark Stands Still by A.P. Poranek, which comes out on the 27th of February. I have no clue what this is about. Although I think like on my list this year, I put quite a few books that were like marketed as gothic novels, because I recently read A Study in Drowning, which was very gothic, and then I also read Wuthering Heights, and so now I'm like really in the mood for gothic fiction. So yeah, we'll see if the gothic promises, keeps what it promises that way around. Next, The Lady in Glass and Other Stories by Anne Bishop also comes out on the 27th. This is once again a short story collection by Anne Bishop. I still haven't read her newest release though, which was The Queen's Price, I think. And this one, there's some new short stories in this one, but there's also a lot of short stories that were published in other short story collections. Not by Anne Bishop, but like, you know, where she wrote short stories for short story anthologies. And usually those anthologies are quite hard to get a hold of, so there's a lot of short stories in this that I have not read yet, and I'm really excited for this one. Also, Anne Bishop kind of is the exception to the rule, where I usually don't like short story collections that much. Next, I have Fathom Folk by Eliza Chan, which also comes out on the 27th. There's a lot of books coming out on the 27th of February. And this one, I know that there's like some underwater city, or a city underwater, or, you know, there's a lot of water in the city, and there's above water and underwater and stuff is happening. And I don't know, the vibes of this book seem very immaculate, so I decided to put it on here. Then I have The Butcher of the Forest by Primi Mohammed, which also comes out on the 27th, which I do have an arc for, but I don't know what it's about anymore. It's like modern fairy tale type, Deadly Forest. It sounds right up my alley, which is probably why I requested it on NetGalley. It is what it is. Then we have A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen, which comes out on the 27th. And I know that Danielle L. Jensen is usually a fantasy romance author, and like a high fantasy romance author, which is not the type of fantasy romance that I particularly enjoy, but for some reason this cover just really caught my eye. So yeah, I put it on my list. Actually, I just remembered why I put Where the Dark Stands Still on my list. Because even though it's YA, I absolutely love this cover, and I believe it's also somewhat Eastern European inspired, possibly. But yeah, it's just gorgeous cover. I'm gonna put the cover here again. Next one, where are we? The Bride of Death by F.M. Aiden, which comes out on the 1st of March. I mean, it's just like, if you call something The Bride of Death, I'm gonna wanna read it. So that's that. Then we have an actually anticipated release for me, which is The Truth of the Aleke by Moses Oze Utomi, which comes out on the 5th of March. The Lies of the... I forgot what it was called. But the first book in this like novella series was my absolute one of my absolute favorite stories that I read this year. So definitely very excited for this, and so excited that I have an arc as well. Then we have A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft, which also comes out on the 5th of March, and that I know nothing about anymore. And I'm too lazy right now, so I just want to get through the anticipated releases, so I'm not looking up the covers again. Otherwise, I probably would remember why I put some of them on here at least. Then we have The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black, which comes out on the 5th as well. And this is the sequel and the finale in the like Stolen Heir duology, the new duology set in the realms, not the realms of the Elderlings, like Elfheim, that's what it's called. Then I have The Fealty of Monsters by Lads and illustrated by Soren Hexen, which comes out on the 12th of March. And I came across this on Twitter, and I think it's probably something like a comic or graphic novel, but there's vampires and it looks dark and amazing, and yeah, I just had to put it on my list. Then we have Chrysalis and Requiem by Quentin Lee, which comes out on the 16th of March. No clue anymore what this was about or why I put it on my list. We have A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock, which comes out on the 19th of March. No clue anymore why I put this on my list. Song of the Huntress by Lucy Holland, which comes out on the 21st of March. By the way, there's a good chance that like most of the books that I don't know why I put them on my list anymore are either just have something in the vibes that I really enjoy them, or are queer fantasy, so yeah. But Song of the Huntress, I did not yet read Sister Song, which was Lucy Holland's first book. This one is once again, I think, historical fantasy. I don't know when exactly this is set in, but yeah, historical fantasy. Lucy Holland I've heard a lot of good things about, and it's queer once again. Then we have The Weavers of Al-Maqsa by Hadir El-Spy, which I guess isn't technically an anticipated release because I really didn't like the first book, but I want to finish the duology, so I put it on here. That one comes out on the 26th of March, by the way. We have The Dawn Throne by Tara Sim, which comes out on the 1st of April. This is the third and I believe also the last book in the, I forgot what it's called and I don't have the book right here. I think Midnight Kingdom, or no, the second book was Midnight Kingdom. But in her first adult trilogy. And I really enjoyed the first one. I haven't read the second one yet, but I want to get to it before the third one comes out. And maybe I'll just binge everything at once. Then we have Dragon Rider by Taran Matharu, which comes out on the 2nd of April. And this one I put on here firstly because of the cover, because it's gorgeous, and because Dragon Riders. And I don't remember if this one was queer. Then, Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell, which also comes out on the 2nd of April. Once again, we have a lot of books coming out on the 2nd of April. This, first of all, the name, then it sounded very body horror metaphorically thing when I read what it was about. I don't remember what it was about anymore. I mean, Someone You Can Build a Nest In, but aside from that. And then it's also only a novella, so, you know, it's fine. Then I have The Monstrous Mrs. Mai by Fan Huang, which comes out also on the 2nd of April. And I have an arc of this one, and I don't know what it was about or why I requested it. I think I didn't actually look through it. But yeah, it's about, it's historical fiction, possibly fantasy, set in the 1900s, and it's surrounding immigration and migration and, you know, all that type of stuff. So then next one I have is The Faithful Dark by Kate Baumer, which comes out also on the 2nd of April. I feel like I know what this is about. No, I don't know what it is about, but it is a gothic fantasy, so that's probably why I put it on my list. Also, the cover is really pretty. I remember looking at the cover and wanting to read it, so yeah, anyway. Then we have The Last Fee Hunter by Salini Goldenberg, which comes out on the 9th of April. No clue what this is about anymore. Next, I have Smile and Be a Villain by Eve Donlan, which comes out on the 16th of April. no clue what this was about anymore, but I love the title of the book. I don't know why I even make these videos anymore, because I can't imagine them being very helpful. Then we have The Dance of Shadows by Rockbud Payne on the 18th of April. No idea what this is about anymore. On the 13th of April, we have a book that I know what it's about, and that is Heavenly Tyrant by Shiran Jie Zhao, which is the sequel and the finale to Iron Widow. And I am very excited for this because I read Iron Widow last year and I really enjoyed it. We have The Brides at High Hill by Nivo on the 7th of May, and this one I am obviously so excited because this is the finale in the novella series, which is The Singing Hills, which started with The Empress of Salt and Fortune. Just very excited for this one. We have Goddess of the River by Vaishnavi Patel, which comes out on the 23rd of May. I forgot which one of the Indian epics this one is inspired by, but Vaishnavi Patel obviously is the author of Kaikeyi, which I read last year and really enjoyed, so I am very much looking forward to this one as well. We have The Fireborn Blade by Charlotte Bond, which comes out on the 28th of May, and once again I do not know what this is about. Then I have Evocation by S.T. Gibson on the 28th of May, and again I don't know if this one or if A Study in Malice is the one that's the Camilla retelling. But I love A Dowry of Blood, I love S.T. Gibson's writing, so I don't really care either way. Then we're now in June, and the last 3 books for this list. We have The Last Song of Penelope by Claire North, which comes out on the 4th of June. This is the finale in the Penelope, Songs of Penelope, I think the series is called, which started with Ithaca, and it's kind of a Greek myth, retelling Greek myth inspired story following Penelope, who of course was the wife of Odysseus, and it follows her during the 10 years that she's waiting for Odysseus. Then we have Mirrored Heavens by Rebecca Roanhorse, which also comes out on the 4th of June. This is the finale in the Between Earth and Sky series, which started with Black Sun. I love and adore Black Sun. I was pretty disappointed by the second book, which I forgot the name of right now. So I hope the series is gonna stick the landing. And then we have Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright, which comes out on the 20th, which is also one of my most anticipated releases, but I once again have no clue anymore what it's about. Just that it's queer, it has a gorgeous cover. So let's just quickly look this up, what it was about. Yeah, I think there's blood magic in here, right? There's spies. It's queer. Just looks like it's right up my alley, and that's why I wanted to read it. And now I have to leave you with this, which is a shame because actually most of my most anticipated releases of 2024 only come in the second half of 2024, but I will just have to tell you about those in June. And with that said, that is it for my anticipated releases list. Tell me what are your most anticipated releases for the first half of 2024, or which of my list are very anticipated releases for you. If you enjoyed this video, what do you think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing? All the links to my social media as well as to my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries will be left linked down below, so go and check those out. I'm sure we'll read at least some of these releases in 2024, and I hope I'll see you very soon. Bye!